it's an unfair situation that like two people could get together, do something, and one person has the ultimate power to decide whether that baby's born or not. And there's a power imbalance there, and I think it stems from the fact that there's a responsibility imbalance too. Is that like one person has to bear so much more responsibility than the other person? That person tends to have so much more power than the other person.
Yeah.
With a Spider-Man quote, right? With great power comes great responsibility, right? Like.
Yeah.
What we're going to talk about next is a very philosophical and could get pretty political depending on where the conversation goes.
Yeah.
But the question is, when is a person alive? And are you alive when you sleep?
That is a good question.
I can tell you, just off rip, what the MD people say, like scientists say about when you are alive. And it says here, according to some studies or whatever, right? This is off the internet, that the fetus in 16 weeks is when they considered that human to be alive. That's when you're alive.
Immediately going into a political.
Facts. And that's not true at all.
No, I'm just telling you what its actual shit says online. I checked 2 different websites.
It's not saying alive.
They also say sleep is the cousin of death.
No, I think Nas said that.
Yeah, that's that hardest Nas song, right? New York State of Mind. Shout out to my boy from Queensbridge. Not really my boy. I just listened to him my whole life. But no, I don't think science is. Maybe science could give that answer, but I don't think it really can.
So when do you think you're alive? When your heart beats for the first time? Because I mean, that's what they're like. What is alive? Like what? Like because to me, when I'm saying when is a person alive is like actual breathing, like your body living, or are we like or alive? Like how do you? I
don't think you could breathe at 16 weeks.
I mean, there's a lot of complication here, right? Because if we say yes, right? If yes, your heart beats, that's a sign you're alive, right? Does that mean that taking people off, like people that are in vegetative states, people that are in comas, things like that, does that mean we shouldn't bother giving them the breathing apparatuses because they can't support their own heartbeat, so they're therefore not alive? If you put people under and you have to intubate them and put tubes in and support their life, does that mean they're no longer alive because they can't support themselves? If you took them off that shit, they would die. Like, does that make some things like that? Does that make it murder rather than like, making a medical decision of whether to keep someone in a coma or not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess very specifically, murder is like a legal definition, not really like a moral one. Mm-hmm. So it's a little weird there. Like, but
would it be killing them by negligence? Would it be? I don't know.
I think disconnecting somebody is killing them. Like, but I don't want to use the word murder because it has a moral. Like it's a negative, you know what I'm saying? Yep. Whereas killing is still negative, but it's like it doesn't quite have, people that want to feel better at night, they'll say, no, we just let them go. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, yeah, you're killing them. But I don't know. I have 2 answers, right, to this question. When is a person alive? One they contradict with each other too, because there's something I'm still trying to wrestle with in my mind. But like, I feel like the easy answer is the moment that a sperm fertilizes an egg and you produce a zygote. I think that's the simplest answer. That's the beginning of life. Like, these 2 things clash and it creates the thing that will be you until the day you die. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's the easy answer. But I've been wrestling with this other idea where it's just like once you have like conscious experiences, is like like the moment that you're alive, and then once you cease to have conscious experiences, so you die, you sleep forever, pretty much. You're no longer alive. But then you don't really have conscious experiences when you sleep. So are you dying repeatedly throughout your life? Like, so I don't know. It gets a little, it gets weird.
Would you consider dreaming as a way of consciousness? Like,
no, I mean that's happening unconsciously.
Well,
You're not aware.
It sounds like you're a fan. It sounds like you're a fan of dualism, almost, Pucho. You know the concept of dualism. Dualism is the no dualism. Well, it's duality, but it's a concept that that you exist as basically two things. You're your body and your mind. They're two separate things. So you're like your body question of when is a body alive is the sperm. The sperm, fertilizes the egg, and that's when the body is alive. But the mind is alive when you're able to actually have experiences and learn and grow and experience and have life, basically.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I lean more to your mind, because one thought experiment that has always, well, not always, but it's just something that I never really thought about. And once I did, it kind of tripped me up a little bit. But it was like the idea of like, what part of your body is you? Like, and it's like, say, well, yeah, exactly. Say we chop your leg off. Which part? Now there's Tony's leg and the rest of Tony's body, right? Which piece is actually Tony now?
The rest of the body.
Right. You wouldn't consider the leg to be Tony. Like, that thing is gone. How much of you would you have to cut away that you would say you're no longer you? And I think you could just be a head and still, like, if you could be alive and just be a head, I think because that's where your brain is, you could feel like you're still you. And so it feels like you're not attached to any one part of your body. Like, and your body's not you, so to speak. Like, your conscious experience, like what your mind is, right? It's consciousness. Like, and I don't know. And I don't know, but before then, I'd always just didn't really think about it. But I don't know. I don't really consider my body to be me necessarily.
That's weird, because that just makes me think like kids that have like a disability, like they don't really, like they can't do normal functions. Does that mean that they're alive? Like they're like, because they're like, I mean, obviously body wise they're alive, right? But mentally, you're saying that if your mental's not conscious, or you're not like thinking or whatever, then that is you're ceasing. Like, you're not alive at that point. You cease to exist, I guess, in a way. So it's just weird, because to me, I would say that you got a heartbeat and you're looking at things and you can comprehend it. I think that's when you're alive.
What's that last bit mean? When you could look at things and comprehend?
Like I'm looking at this monitor and I see that there's 3 of you here, and there's like my brain is registering everything that I'm looking at. That's when I think, and it affects you in some emotional states. Like, it makes you happy, sad, angry. Like, I think that's when you're alive. Like, you feel like the feelings, like your brain is telling you to feel away, and your whole body reacts to it. And I think that's, to me, is when you're alive. Like, even when you're having an adrenaline rush, that's like your fucking body's like, it's a rush. Like, that's feeling alive. That's, people do things like drugs or whatever to feel that alive, or cocaine. Like, you're just at another hyper stage of shit. To me, that's alive to me. Like, feeling shit and registering it. But I don't know.
At what age do you think like a human is capable of looking at a monitor and feeling something, I guess?
Young as a kid. I mean,
well, like, yeah, what age?
Luca's like, what, 3 months right now? So he can look at a TV when we don't let him, but when he looks at a TV screen for a split second, he sits there and I could tell he's analyzing what the fuck he's looking at. He's trying to figure out what he's looking at. That to me, even before that, I think he's alive. But that to me would be like he's alive, because he's analyzing and seeing it.
I'm saying, but so you're saying at least 3 months, right? But I'm saying like I don't think that a baby just born, they can't even see like when they're born.
Yeah, they have to
So
be
like,
really close. Yeah.
right. So like, it feels like by that definition, you're saying that like when a baby's first born, that they're not really even alive because they can't really look at certain things and really like try to
They can see the person in front of them. When you're holding a baby, they can see it's blurry, but they can see they can see it. It's blurry, but they can see it and they can react. And then their body reacts because their mind's telling them that they're hungry, so they cry because they want to be fed. So they're alive. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
where and mind you, I'm not an expert in this field. I'm just basing it off of my own opinions and my feelings on it.
Yeah,
Well-
I don't. To be honest, I've read into this a bit. I don't think that science is gonna be. This is not a question of science. I don't think. That's why when you start the conversation off at 18 weeks is when at 18 weeks your definition fails. You know what I'm saying? Like if you rip that baby out of that womb, they're not gonna be able to look at them. They don't have eyes to process things, so they can't interpret or have conscious experience. So it's like they're not alive then. Like by that definition. And I mean, there's a whole half of the country that would disagree, right? At 18 weeks, that's a baby to people,
Well, technically, if you want to say vision is one of the reasons of why you could be alive, bats in cave use echolocation.
No, I'm sure. I'm saying you said that. You said that.
I'm saying off of the thing. That wasn't my belief. I was like giving us a ground level what they think. And then,
I think you're mincing two different. I'm saying you brought up the idea that when someone could look at the world and interpret what they're viewing, that's being alive. And I don't really disagree from that because I think that's the more complicated forms of consciousness. I think even when you're in the womb, kicking in response to certain music and things like that, like those are conscious experiences. Like that baby is doing stuff in response to the world, right? They have they're getting stimulated by things. Like there were certain songs that I could play that my daughter would start kicking, like when she was in the womb and stuff. And that to me, that's a form of some conscious experience. Where that begins is weird because it's not going to be the same for everybody.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that basically. I'm not necessarily saying that, if you don't have a conscious experience, you could, that's it. You could kill them and it wouldn't be anything. You know what I'm saying? But basically, there's a value that we're putting on. Like we're valuing something when we consider a person to be a person. You know what I'm saying? And even if at 18 weeks, right, we're saying, oh, we consider that thing to be alive. You consider to be alive even before that in most cases. Because like if there was a woman that was pregnant, say 10 weeks, and someone punched her in the gut and she lost her child, you wouldn't be like, oh, it doesn't matter, that baby wasn't even alive yet. You know what I'm saying? Like that would not be anybody's view.
And
everybody
if it is, you're a pure dick.
Right? Like, and there's a difference, right? Like between somebody who does that or someone who just punches a random woman in the stomach or whatever. Like, that guy's an asshole or a piece of shit for assaulting someone, but this guy is an additional piece of shit because he assaulted someone and he killed, this woman's baby, So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, even day one, even the people that are all pro like choice who are like, there's some people that think like it's not a baby, it doesn't matter, like we don't give a shit, like you could abort it all we want. Like even those people, if you told them that someone could kill their kid without their consent, like they would view it as you killed a kid. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like it gets a little weird. Like I don't know how, like what the value is that people are putting on these things. Like I don't know. It's something that I struggle within myself, and I don't even think anybody really has an answer.
I think a lot of it comes down to body autonomy, honestly, because I'm pro-choice. I don't think that it's anyone's place to legislate a body, like that particular aspect of women's reproduction. I don't think there should be any legislation on that. I think it would be incredibly rare to see a woman terminate a pregnancy after a certain point of time. I don't know what that time would be, but I don't think we'd see a sudden like increase in like like late term abortions or anything like that if we took away all the legislation that was blocking things like that.
The only thing I have not a problem, right? Because and I'm pro-choice too. And I said that with a question mark because, for example, let's say my significant other gets pregnant and she doesn't want the baby, but I want the baby. I understand that it's her body that changes and it's really her choice. I get that. But that's still life in a way, like, you know what I mean? Like Pucho says, like once the sperm hits, it creates and it starts the process, that's life now, right? And to
Gotta
me,
say that's human life because a
yeah,
lot
my
of these
bad.
people would be like, "Oh, well, a plant is life, and you
Yeah.
don't care about plant," you know. But
No, yeah, human life. Thank you, Pooch. I still want the child. I get that you don't want the child because you're going to carry it for 9 months, but some people be like, well, that's her choice. It's pro-choice, you know? But I feel like
would be
two people should make, if they're together types, and it's different, right? Because I wouldn't want to abort the kid. I don't believe in abortions as you know what I mean? I don't like that. There's some things, you know, rape and there's a lot of, it goes deep. But me personally, with my significant other, if she get pregnant, I don't believe in abortions. If you don't want the kid, then we'll work out our differences, and as a relationship, I'll take the kid and you can move on or whatever we figure out, right? But I personally don't believe in abortion.
My problem with that would be I don't think that you can force someone to do something that's going to permanently alter their body.
Yeah, and that's the,
because there's hormonal changes, there's all kinds of crazy shit that happens during pregnancy. You guys know this. You guys have both been through a pregnancy. Yeah. So that would be my reason for why it doesn't matter whether the man wants the kid or not. The woman
and it's just difficult too.
On that.
It's real difficult, Mateo, because it's like, you know, if Emily didn't want Luca, like, you know what I mean? Like, this kid brings joy to my life. So it's just like, it sucks. But, you know, that's pro-choice, and I see good and the negative in it. And me personally, like, if I could, I'll be like a seahorse. Give me the child. I'll bear the child. And you know what I mean? Because, like, you know, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, that's going to be it.
That'd be cool if that was possible. Yeah, but I don't know. With the whole it's an unfair situation that like you know, two people could get together, do something, and one person has the ultimate power to decide whether that baby's born or not. And there's a power imbalance there. And I think it stems from the fact that there's a responsibility imbalance too. Is that like one person has to bear so much more responsibility than the other person, that person tends to have so much more power than the other person. Yeah. With a Spider-Man quote, right? With great power comes great responsibility, right? Like, and you know, whatever, like that, well, I mean, I'm not saying whatever, like saying it lightly, right? I'm just saying there's a power imbalance there, and it's fucked up, and you know, and at the detriment to men. But pregnancy is also at the detriment to women, so that's, you know, I don't know. Now, I got a hot take that something that you just said, Tony, because I've heard a lot of people give a lot of people give exception to abortion when it comes to rape, which I find the very interesting. Like, it's a very interesting thought in my opinion. Like, it's because it's like you're basically saying because there was a rape, this baby has less right to be alive. And I find that like a strange thought. Like I my view is that like if you're pro-life, then you should be also equally pro-life in the cases of rape, because the baby is still a baby, no matter how it was conceived. I'm not saying that, I'm not endorsing fucking rapes or anything like that. That's fucking horrible. I'm saying though, like, this baby it doesn't matter how it came to be, like it's still alive by your by a pro-lifer's previous metric, and you're basically making an exception to kill someone, like by your language, I guess, not you, but by, you know, from a pro-lifer's perspective.
I think that the legal abortion aspect of this is interesting. I think that's a whole topic on its own. I like the philosophical side of this a lot more. of, is it a stream of consciousness? Is that what defines life? Like, there's a lot that throws off a lot of philosophical like discussion on this, because you can bring up, for example, I had a cousin that he was born a spina bifida. He was born deaf. He was born blind. He was not able to survive on his own. He required a lot of care from my aunt and my uncle and their kids. There's a lot of philosophical like definitions of what life is that do not include him being alive, because he did not have like, we don't know whether he had the ability to have a stream of consciousness. We don't know if he even carried memories from day to day. Like it's complicated. It's a very complicated issue to figure out what's going on with people that are incommunicative and have that level of health and mental issues going on. And they throw off a lot of these philosophical like discussions.
Yeah. And that's deep too. Because it's like, if he's, and mind you, I'm going to try to be really careful how I speak here, because, obviously it's family members and stuff. Deaf and blind. You can't hear nothing. You can't see nothing. So what is your mind holding? What like, I can't comprehend how that is or how that feeling is, but and what we're speaking of, like our examples, yeah, his life is not a life, right? Example wise. But to the parents who love this kid, is it selfish on their end to keep him alive? Versus,
I think my aunt would never have argued that my cousin wasn't alive. And I think it's a little bit of that duality thing. Like, you could see him move. He had the ability to move. He was in a wheelchair. Like there was, but obviously his body was fully alive. Like there was no doubt, he's breathing on his own. He's moving. The mind aspect is complicated. I mean, shit, even people that are in comas, like the family members will go and gather and watch them, and they'll be like, oh, when I said this, their eyelids fluttered a little bit. That to me means that they are fully alive in there. They're still in there. And that's a complicated thing on its own, whether like there's brain function and what level of consciousness is still remains inside of a person that's trapped in their body like that.
Yeah, I have a deaf cousin. She cannot speak. I don't know if she's deaf mute, but she speaks, but she just can communicate through ASL and stuff like that. So, I mean, she still ended up having a very fulfilling life. 3 kids, 2 twins.
That's awesome.
She's doing.
No, but I think that's different though than like the topic we're looking at. I mean, obviously she's fully present. She's just missing one sense, like that.
His cousin's missing 2 senses.
I haven't never read that people with spina bifida might not have a conscious experience. I've never even I never heard of that. I was always under the impression that like their sensory situation is kind of fucked, for lack of a better term, but that they're still present, like they're having a conscious experience with the tools that they're born with. You know what I'm saying?
and that would be the argument that I would subscribe to. I mean, like, I don't know what the world was like for him. I know that his experience in the world was way different than mine. He wasn't able to communicate very well. I think he could squeeze, but whether there's a lot of questions that I had that I never got asked, that I never had the opportunity to ask, or never like was willing to ask, because I was so curious about the situation. So I think it's interesting to discuss like what is life, and does it have to be like, is there a certain quality of life that life has to hit before you consider it life? Like where does that come in? Because some people would argue otherwise. I mean, like there's some philosophical just like definitions of what makes life, where it's like, well, shit, there's a lot that can throw these arguments off.
Yeah, I mean, anything you say, it's gonna come off wrong in some way, somehow. Like you try to tread the waters lightly there, because and that's probably me being selfish. Like if, God forbid, my child or anybody, like like if they can't, like, is that a life for them? Like, it's like almost like your dog's dying slowly. Like, do you put him down because you don't want him to suffer? or it gets to this area where you're just sitting there contemplating, like, is this fair to him? Even though it's going to hurt me to lose this person, is it fair for them?
It's I mean, I think it's got to be some kind of combination of things, right? Like you can't go straight body. You can't use your definition of life as like a heartbeat and the ability to breathe and things like that, because there's people that need assistance to do that and are fully mentally there. I mean, that's the thing. If you need a pacemaker, does that mean that you're no longer alive because your body's not able to beat its own heart anymore? Is that like? But there also has to be the mind aspect to it.
Wait, what are you saying? Yeah, to though. Just to clarify,
pacemaker. Says pacemaker comment.
No, he's agreeing.
He's agreeing.
Even
Okay,
if you need a pacemaker, you're still alive.
No,
Yeah.
I'm making sure because it could come across like
yeah, and I mean that's the logical answer. No one's going to argue. Nope, these people with pacemakers are fucking zombies. It's the obvious answer. Like it does, like that doesn't change your level, like whether you're alive or not. And but the mind aspect doesn't fully answer the question either, because you can be born without the ability to live a fully mentally capable life, right? Like that is 100% a thing. There's lots of disabilities out there. There's lots of problems that can happen during pregnancy and during birth that can cause people to have a lessened mental experience. And if someone is stuck in like a non-communicative state, it's hard to know what level of consciousness that person is actually experiencing.
Yeah.
So it's got to be some combination of the two.
It's definitely
I don't know what the combination is. I have no idea what the answer to this question is.
Which is why I say I don't think this is a question that science could answer. Like there's no, this is purely philosophical or it's not necessarily emotional. It's just where in life, like what is it that you find value in? Like, so like, because for example, another hot take, I don't really care for animals like that. Like you know, people are like, oh, this whale died, oh, that's so sad, or that monkey that I don't give a shit. Like, you know, I understand that
you didn't care about Harambe.
No one actually cared about Harambe. It was just a bunch of meme lords on the internet.
People cared about Harambe. I remember people saying, who's the piece of shit that shot him? They were trying to figure, like, it seemed like people, I don't know. Anyways, I think like you can make emotional like attachments to anything. Like I have a dog. I love my dog. Like I have an emotional attachment to my dog. That doesn't necessarily mean that I have the belief that all dogs deserve to live and blah, blah, blah. No, I have an emotional attachment to my dog the same way that you could have an emotional attachment to anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'd be upset if someone hit my car, you know what I'm saying? But my car's not alive. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know. Sorry, I lost track of how this comment related to where I started. But ultimately what I was trying to get at was like, you know, we see value in certain things, right? And it's not necessarily life, right? Because a plant is alive, a tree is alive, bugs are alive, right? So there's something that differentiates those things for most people. There are people that are like super gung-ho about like, you know, not even these vegans, like they might need to reframe their beliefs. Like, you know, these plants are alive, man. You ever seen them Venus flytraps? They kill shit, they eat shit. Like that shit's a plant.
That's one of the few
trees
plants
communicate.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
trees communicate to each other.
It's one of the few plants that are wow. Word just slipped my mind. Yeah, carnivore. Thank you. Just slipped.
Carnivorous.
Yeah, and carnivorous. I think that plant is amazing to me. I've gotten a plant once. This is a tangent, but I've gotten the Venus flytrap once, and it sprouted like 6 of these little mouths. And bro, when it catches a fly, it's fucking crazy. Like it's just like that right there tells you that plant is alive, right? Like without the plants, there'll be no bees, right? There'll be like shit starts from plants. Like we wouldn't have oxygen. We wouldn't some would say vegans are attacking life support here on Earth, but that's just me.
More so than us carnivores for sure.
Would some people say that?
No, I don't think a Venus flytrap's alive, bro. So that's my point. Is that like even that level of autonomy, I don't see life in that. Like I don't value. Like sorry, it's clearly alive. I'm saying I don't care if it gets killed. You know what I'm saying? And there's a point where there's a life that I value. For me, it's mainly just humans. Like I care about human life, right? You know, like if someone gets killed, like I think that's fucked up, you know, or wrong, or you know, whatever, right? I'm not gonna feel bad about anybody killing a Venus flytrap ever. Like it's not gonna happen. Never, ever. Never.
What if it belonged to like a little boy and someone went and just smashed it in front of him?
Oh, I wouldn't care about the fly
You
trap
wouldn't care.
itself.
You wouldn't care about his feelings being hurt because someone destroyed it. Yeah,
Exactly. I feel
got
like you're taking away that child's autonomy, like of possession or something like that. You know?
Yeah,
I think that's fucked up.
God forbid someone comes and kills Daniel Tiger. Pucho will be tight.
I'll be fucking livid. My daughter depends on this guy for all types of shit.
You know,
that's me forming an emotional attachment to a little puppet. You know what I'm saying?
That's hilarious.
And yeah, you could have value in emotional attachments, but that
That's
doesn't
fair.
mean that those things are worthy of life across the board. You know,
You could traumatize an entire generation of children by tossing an Elmo doll into a wood chipper or something. That
Oh my
doll
God.
would be alive for them.
And my daughter loves Elmo too. She feeds Elmo. She sits him down. She'll take like scoops of cereal. She'll eat some. She'll take some and give it to Elmo. And
Oh, sharing is caring.
she's a very cute kid. If I killed Elmo, she'd be traumatized by that.
This is a
she
great
might hate me for a while.
This is a great segue into my next thing.
Wait, so is that the final answer though? Before we segue, is the final answer? We don't fucking know.
We don't. It's all opinionated. Yeah, it's all pretty much opinions. Like I could say one thing, you could say another thing. It's really based on your opinions and the way what you think life is. Like even
then it gets
scientists.
crazy when you try to legislate for this type of shit. Like then it gets super difficult. Like, how do you make laws around this shit? That like, yeah, and I think that's why there's two halves to a country, and I mean not even two halves, but you know, there's two large groups that have very strong disagreements. But also, I just want to say I conflated pro-choice with people that don't value like the life of like a baby in the womb. I don't think that's the case. I know that there are people that are like, that baby ain't alive. Like it doesn't matter. It's just like oh, the thing you call a heartbeat, that's just like a neuron or like electricity or something. Like they try to like downplay like whether this thing's alive or not, which is what I know it's not a belief of pro-choicers, like, but it's something that when I said it, I conflated it, and that's not what I meant to say. I just want to correct myself. But anyways.
So